Warriors. Today I'm going to speak on just a couple of things. These are some things that you will never see a psychological manipulator or a narcissist or a sociopath do in general. So one thing is that they will not apologize. These are people who have a very difficult time apologizing or taking any responsibility for their actions. So on the rare occasion that you do get an apology, it's likely going to look something like this. I'm sorry you feel that way. Or it's unfortunate things worked out the way they did. Or I'm sorry that things worked out the way they did. That, as you notice, is it's a non-apology. It's not an amends. An amends is, hey, I'm really sorry that I lied to you about this specific thing. Will you forgive me, and what can I do to make it right? That's taking responsibility. But you'll notice if you ever get any sort of apology from a narcissist, it is a non-apology because it's all about, shifting the responsibility, shifting the blame. These are not people that can come up and say, dang it, I screwed up. I lied or I wasn't totally truthful in that, or, I really messed up. I'm sorry. And I need to know what I can do to make it right. So they won't do that. They just can't do it. It's really, really, really impossible for these people to acknowledge that they've done wrong and to take any responsibility for it. Another thing that's very, very hard for them is to see emotional nuance. So narcissists have very black and white thinking. They're either going to, you're either going to be idealized or devalued, right? So, they're very black and white, and they do this thing called splitting. So like you're either 100%, perfect, or you are 100% just a piece of crap. So it's this dichotomy. They have this very black and white thinking. They're not able to detect shades of gray, so they don't really pick up on emotional nuance in people or conversation, and they're just super black and white. And again, they any sort of critique of them, even if it's well-intentioned, even if it's like constructive criticism, they take it super personally. So they're very, very sensitive. And remember, sometimes these criticisms are perceived. They're not even real. So they take things really, really personally that, could just be a normal critique of someone, or just you could even be asking them, like if you're asking them for, let's say, more, physical intimacy, or you're, trying to get something, some more communication or some, dialogue, they may take it like you're telling them that they're not good enough, and like you're not doing that at all. You may just be expressing your needs, but they sort of look at that as like this, unreal, this demand. They get very, they take it very personally, as if you're, as if you're suggesting that they're not good enough, right? Because they're so self-absorbed and self-consumed. And then another thing that you're never going to see them do is they express real feelings. If you're in the idealization phase, they may say that they love you, or they may tell you that you're amazing or whatever, but it's very hard for them to express real feelings, like to say, hey, when you said this thing the other day, you really hurt my feelings, and I didn't appreciate it, and I needed to tell you that because I'm really hurt, and can we talk about it? Or, hey, I don't like it when you do this thing. Or, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you could meet this need for me. I'd really appreciate it if you would, get on a better budget, or, stop spending so frivolously. Or, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you would, initiate intimacy more often. Or they can't tell you that they have a need. Like they just, in general, these people are, they've learned to like, sort of squash their needs, and they sort of look at having any needs like being, which all of us are human, we all have needs, but they look at it as sort of like a weakness, right? So they just have no needs, and they're not able to express them. So they really have, they really can't express real feelings. you a lot of times they'll tell you that everything's perfect, everything's fine. If you ask them about their past, they'll be like, oh, that was fine, everything was perfect, like nothing bad ever happened to me, my childhood was perfect, my ex relationships were all perfect, even though they're over, right? So that's a red flag. Like, well, what made them end? So it's just everything. The narrative is just like, it can be that they're very in a lot of delusion and denial about this human experience, because we all know if we're humans and if we're an adult, like there is some bad stuff that's happened to you in your life, and that's just a reality of living on this planet, right? Of being human. It's part of the human condition. Everything cannot be perfect, right? And I understand having optimism. Optimism is so awesome. We should all have optimism, but realistic. We need to be realistic and truthful in our optimism. Another thing is you will really never see them act selflessly. The only time that they will do things for others or outside of their own self-interest is if they're doing it performatively, or they'll do this for you, but you better do this for them. And the unfortunate part of that is they often will not tell you that. They won't say, hey, I'm gonna pay more of the bills here, but in return, I expect you to do more of the housework, like some sort of negotiation like that. They won't tell you. It's just an expectation that's never been discussed. It's like a silent expectation. So you have no idea. You have no idea with these people what they want. You have no idea how to meet somebody's expectations if they've never told you what they are. Right? So anytime they're giving, it is strategic. They have thought about it. They're doing it to look like a good guy or girl. It's very performative, and they are keeping score. In their heads, they never just give of their hearts. They just don't do that. It's always about, they're always keeping score. Another thing that they have a very hard time doing, if at all, is forgive. These are grudge holders. These are people that will hold a grudge, till the day they die. And sometimes they won't even acknowledge that they have a grudge or that they have resentments. One way of identifying narcissists is be like, hey, do you have any resentments? And they're like, no, I have none. Like, if you're an adult and you don't have any resentments or anyone has ever offended you or bothered you, that is a huge red flag. Of course, we shouldn't walk around carrying our resentments like a big bag. There's a lot of work you can do around resentments and forgiveness, right? There's beautiful work you can do. I do a lot of 12-step work around resentments, but in general, they do not forgive, right? And they'll keep that, resentment, that grudge in their minds against you like forever, whether or not it's a lot of times it comes out sideways. You're in a very passive aggressive way, and they may say they don't resent you, but they do. And another thing is self-reflect. They cannot self-reflect. They cannot. They have no introspection. They have no self-awareness. They cannot self-reflect. It's really, really challenging for them, if not impossible. So these are people that cannot, give you an expression of their internal life, or why they don't know why they do what they do, or if they know, they're not going to share it with you, right? So they have no idea. They're just sort of, driven by their impulses, and they have no idea, no ability to self-reflect. And then this is a big one. They cannot take responsibility. They will do deflection, they will do projection, they will blame, they will do anything they can to sort of squirm their way out of any sort of personal responsibility. They are not able to, take personal responsibility. On the rare occasion that they're performatively taking personal responsibility, what they're doing is say you were in a relationship with a narcissist, you broke up, and they're communicating with other people, right? And they may, with the other people, they may have they may be able to give like little pieces here and there and say, oh, well, I did this, I messed up on this in the relationship. But they are never able to do that with the person that they did it to, right? So they're never able to go to the person and say, hey, I'm really sorry that I did this thing. I'm so sorry that I lied to you or cheated on you or gaslighted you or, put you through hell and back. I'm so sorry. And, I realize that I did that. I'm so sorry. And you apologize. And I was wrong to do that. And, again, that doesn't mean that the other person didn't have a part in the issues. It's just, as humans, once we've become emotionally mature, most of us are able to go to people and, make amends for the harms we've caused and take some personal responsibility when we've hurt others, right? But not narcissists. They cannot take any personal responsibility. So they'll craft the narrative, like if the relationship ends, they'll say something like, oh, there's two sides to every story. They may say that, but they never said that to, their partner. They never said, hey, I realize there's two sides to this story. This is what I realize I did wrong in the relationship. This is what I need to make amends for. This is, me doing the next right thing. They will only talk about that person sort of with their affair partner or their family. They may take some responsibility in that regard, but that's not taking personal responsibility, because again, you see, like, this is, the crime of too much pride. They're not able to lower their ego and come and say, hey, I'm really sorry, I screwed up. I really made a mistake and I feel really bad about it and I was really wrong to do it. So those are some of the things that you're very unlikely, or if ever, to see a narcissist do. And it's unfortunate, but that's sort of how they operate in this world. So hope this helps you guys. I'm going to do a lot more on the healing from this narcissistic abuse, because you don't want to spend too much time in the analyzing the narcissist. I mean, obviously you've got to do your, you have to go through your phase of educating yourself so that you understand that that's the kind of relationship that you were in. But you don't want to get mired in that, because yeah, they're boring. I mean, really, in a way, they're boring, because they all do the same things. They're carbon copies of each other. Some are more quiet than others. Some are more shy. Some are have a higher intelligence. But they're boilerplate in terms of how they operate in the world and in relationships. And you are not. Your job is to start healing those parts of you that sort of didn't see the reality of what you were in. And that all has to do, I think, a lot with really with self-love and with setting healthy boundaries and really loving and respecting yourself enough to, not tolerate, these toxic behaviors, and to recognize them, when they're coming on. And of course, most people, or a lot of people that find themselves in relationships with cluster Bs, had some sort of childhood trauma. So for some reason, that either that overt abuse or that subtle covert abuse, with the manipulation and the lying and the gaslighting and the silent treatment and the neglect, you one or the other, like it felt comfortable because you were used to that for some reason. So that's the part you want to heal, that attachment wounding, that fear of abandonment, and the part in you that says that you're not good enough, because you are good enough, and you can heal from this. You can get better. You can be happy. And you can figure out what the red flags are and start using discernment and trust your intuition, trust your gut, so you never get into a relationship with a toxic manipulator again. So I hope you are having a wonderful day. I hope you're thriving. I hope you're doing some self-care. I hope you're exercising. I hope you're reaching out to friends. I hope you are, reading books on healing. I hope you're meditating. I hope you're praying. I hope you are, connecting with your community. I hope you're surrounding yourself with loving, kind, safe people. I hope you're doing yoga and running and climbing and just having a full, rich, beautiful life, because that is what you deserve. Thank you. Bye-bye.